Farms may utilize soil amendments to aid in crop growth, enrich soil nutrition, and enhance soil structure. Soil amendments are any chemical, biological, or physical material intentionally added to the soil to improve the chemical or physical condition of the soil. Out of the various soil amendment types, biological soil amendments of animal origin pose the greatest risk to food safety if not properly managed. Manure-based examples of soil amendments of animal origin include animal manures and agricultural teas. Non-manure-based amendments include fish emulsions, blood meal, bone meal, biosolids, and table waste. If untreated, biological soil amendments of animal origin can contain human pathogens that can result in foodborne diseases. Manure is animal feces used for fertilizer. It's a valuable resource on farms because it aids in increasing soil fertility and water holding capacity. It's also widely available and inexpensive. However, manure is a biological soil amendment that, if not properly managed, can present food safety risks. Manures are generally safe for use on farms once they have been treated. Raw manures vary in microbial risk based on the species of origin. For example, chicken-based manures are associated with Salmonella and Campylobacter, while cattle manures can contain E. coli. Examples of produce safety rule acceptable treatment practices include composting and heat treatment that are scientifically validated to reduce Listeria monocytogenes, Salmonella, and E. coli. Some non-manure-based soil amendments of animal origin are bone meal, blood meal, feather meal, and fish emulsions. Like manure, these amendments must be treated to reduce pathogens or must be considered untreated biological soil amendments of animal origin. Human waste is prohibited for use on produce crops unless it meets EPA regulation for Class A biosolids. Biosolids are solid organic matter recovered from a sewage treatment process and used as a fertilizer. Untreated human waste and biosolids may contain pathogens, heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, or other contaminants. Note that produce grown with Class A biosolids may not be accepted by all produce buyers. The Produce Safety Rule defines a treated soil amendment to be one that has been treated using a validated process to reduce microorganisms of concern. An example of a validated process used commonly to treat compost is aerated turned compost. For more information about composting treatments, look for our other video in the series Composting. Examples of untreated biological soil amendments are those not being processed to completion, those becoming contaminated after treatment, those having been recombined with an untreated biological soil amendment of animal origin, and agricultural teas that contain an additive such as molasses or nutrients. The application of untreated biological soil amendments of animal origin is not prohibited by the Produce Safety Rule. But farmers should maximize the time between application of untreated biological soil amendments and harvest. There are currently no application intervals outlined by the FSMA Produce Safety Rule, but it's recommended to follow the National Organic Program standards of 90 days prior to harvest when the edible portion of the crop does not contact the soil. This 90-day interval, for example, applies to okra and peppers. For root vegetables and melons, for example, the recommended time between application and harvest is 120 days. Using effective biological soil amendment handling practices can reduce food safety risks. There are 4 main areas of soil amendment management that can reduce food safety risks: application, handling, storage, and record keeping. Farmers should be careful to prevent the soil amendment from touching the harvestable portion of the crop or food contact surfaces during application. Produce crops should never be side-dressed with raw manure or untreated soil amendments. Timing of application is also an important factor. Regardless of soil amendment type, maximizing the time between application of biological soil amendments and harvest is an important risk reduction practice. During application, farmers should also be mindful of factors that can cause unintentional spread of the soil amendment, as by high winds and runoff. Cross-contamination can be a concern for farmers who handle soil amendments. It's important for farmers to designate specific equipment and tools for handling soil amendments. For cleaning and sanitizing tools and equipment that have contacted soil amendments, farmers should develop standard operating procedures, or SOPs, to be followed before the tools and equipment can be used for fresh produce. As a part of proper handling of soil amendments, reducing the amount of foot traffic around soil amendment storage and processing areas helps reduce the risks of cross-contamination. The Produce Safety Rule requires soil amendments to be handled and stored in a location that prevents them from becoming a potential source of contamination. You want to be sure they don't contaminate produce, food contact surfaces, areas used for a covered activity like packing or storage areas, water sources, water distribution systems, and other soil amendments. Biological soil amendments should also be stored in a location where treated amendments are not contaminated with untreated soil amendments. If biological soil amendments do come in contact with untreated or in-process soil amendments or wild animals, you should consider and treat them like they are untreated or raw. Records should be kept to document the type and source of soil amendments, the rates and dates of application, and the handling and sanitation practices used to reduce risks. If compost is being treated on the farm, it's important to record the processing steps, including temperature, time, and turnings. Records should be kept on purchased soil amendments. Some of these records include the name and address of the supplier, what soil amendments were purchased, the date and amount purchased, lot information if available, and the treatment process used. Animal manures and byproducts are useful for adding valuable nutrients when growing fresh fruits and vegetables. It's important that these are used, handled, and stored properly to prevent contamination.